What's up, party people, and welcome back to Dance Specific Talks.
Boom.
It's been 1.5 years, y'all. I had a baby and all, and things have changed. I am so excited to introduce to you my new co-host, Sebastian Carlos Cruz.
Yo, what it do, young blood? Yo, what it do? Coming to you straight from the paradise island of Cape Verde Islands. Coming to you live from paradise. How's everybody doing? It's an honor to be here to get with you today, T-zer.
I am so happy. This has been a long time coming. It's been a long process. Before COVID, I had no idea I could ever have a podcast. Then COVID happened, and I managed to record over the span of 3 years. I managed to record like almost 100 interviews.
Incredible.
And you were my first person I interviewed.
Yes, I was. Circle complete.
Exactly. Before I even knew it was going to turn into a podcast, I just wanted to support you back then by interviewing you about your online classes that you were currently running from Barcelona, I believe.
Exactly. So I was I just launched my online coaching business.
Yeah.
And living in Barcelona, and now, like you're saying, fast forward a couple of years later, now I'm in Cape Verde Islands. I lived in Malta since then. I live in Sweden since then. It's been a journey.
Yeah, and so I thought, I feel like a lot of people that have listened to this podcast, like shout out to all of you for the patience. If you are still here and you're still listening, shout out to you, because it's been a long time.
Shout out to you.
Where I haven't had silence around me enough to have a podcast recording. But I also would love if we could maybe like reintroduce each other. A lot of things have happened. Some people know me, maybe some people just know you. So I just wanted to ask, you have the longest background within like hip hop. You were battling, you lived with your crew, Left Sound, in Norway for many years. Then, as you say, you moved to Barcelona, you started your online business. But who would you say you are today, Sebastian?
Oh, that's such a good question. That's such a good question. I am right now, at least as of this very moment, I am currently in an Airbnb that we're renting. I'm not in a studio, but we've done our best to transform this into a studio. I am a 33-year-old dancer that is also focusing on training dancers. That's where my passion lies. So I run a company called Dance Specific Training, and we are focusing on getting dancers to become mentally and physically stronger. Since I've been doing this since we started Dance Specific Training under the name Be Fit and Sensual in 2016. And that's a long story, and we're gonna go into all these stories. But as of right now, I am living in the Cape Verde Islands, which is where my family is from. Half of my family is from there. Me and T-zer met each other in Sweden. I've been dancing for 16 years now, which sounds crazy to say. And I am just an all-time fanatic of movement and improvement, I'd say. I love improving on every area of my life, and that's where I am the most passionate. And I live in Cape Verde. I lived there for 2.5 years. I'm just got back from America, where I studied at University of Texas out of Austin. I went to Young African Leadership Initiative, and I think that's a good start. I think that's a good start, honestly.
I think it's so dope. We could go into a million stories because we've known each other for so long. But I think that, where we met more than 10 years ago, we were both into the battling scene. I had just moved to Gothenburg after living in Denmark, doing my hip hop education there. And you were like battling and being in a hip hop popping all style type of crew. And I was like
crumping dance hall.
I was heavily into dance hall when we met, and I just took a dance hall class yesterday. which is like always gonna be my first love, you know, like hip hop was my introduction to the culture. Dance hall was what made me fall in love and realizing like I found one of the styles that really suit me. And you and I share this major music interest around
Yeah.
dance hall and reggae. And we have so many stories of us going to chase after music. So I like, yeah, we just have so much to talk about. And
Yeah.
then,
So what about you? What about you? Or you have any other questions?
yeah,
If not, I want to pass it over to you. Like, like reintroduce yourself. You've been away. There's been
yeah,
so much
I've been
things
away.
happening. There's been so much thing happening in your life. I've been following since, like I said, we've been friends for over a decade. But these last 2 years, this last year has been such a, let's say 2 years, has been such a transformative experience of your life. Like, tell us about you.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who is T-zer?
Yeah, so you know, when after the dance hall battling thing, you know, I went into hosting a lot, and then I found Kizomba. So about 10 years
Yeah.
ago, I found Kizomba, which led me to create my first own crew, Fuse Fam, together with my fiance Mali, with Anosh, with Michelle, and another guy called Yassin. And we started touring the world with Kizomba and hip hop fusion, which led us to 6 years ago. We performed in Amsterdam, and I always loved Amsterdam, and I always
Yeah.
manifested that one day I was gonna live here. And then I got this opportunity to work at one of the dopest theaters here in Amsterdam, moved here, and then my friend Shamalo, who's also a Kizomba hip hop dancer, he had a school here. So right away, me and Mali, we started teaching. And down the line, 2 years ago, I got pregnant. We now have a
Let's go.
child.
Let's go.
And
Shout out to Chloe Patra.
yeah, Chloe, my little girl, she's already dancing. It's been a wild thing to become a mother, but I must say, um, it has just made me love also dance and what dance have done for me and my body and finding back to it. And it has changed the way I teach today. And I think that you and I both share this very like big fascination about personal growth and how we can teach more of that, and not just moves, not just training, but also like this can change your life, and the way you start moving or introduce new things, being creative into your body makes you be creative in life. And that's why this podcast led also me to search for questions that
Yes.
we then gathered. And this year I released the game.
Let's go. Let's go. The world's first card game for dancers. Move That Soul Original Edition, which is an incredible game that we're gonna taste a little bit of today, later.
Exactly.
Right.
So the last year, while I haven't recorded podcasts, this has been the main mission, to produce an actual physical product. It's like very weird for dancers. We only do service things like
Yeah.
classes, workshops,
Yeah.
coaching. And so for me to figure out, shout out to Selma, my graphic designer, who had to figure out how to make a box, how it's gonna look like. And we wanted it to look like the logo of this podcast, Dance Specific Talks, which I named together also with you to kind of connect it to the Dance Specific training. And yeah, later on, we're going to pull some questions from this deck.
I think.
And yeah.
Sorry, continue. Continue.
Yeah. No, I mean, about like 2 weeks ago, you were here visiting. We had our first kind of Move That Soul event in Amsterdam. And it
Beautiful.
was just a
Beautiful.
joy.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah, it was so much fun.
So yeah, for the people who don't know, you can just check it out, movethatsoul.com. And basically, if you type in Dance Specific Talks on YouTube, I also put up a trailer there. You can see how the game is being played. And we are going to mix some of the card game into this new format of this podcast. We are going to have some amazing guests we're going to talk with. We're going to share some one of the million stories that we are both, carrying with us in our backpacks. We maybe even react on some dance videos.
I've seen some wild dancing coming out of the of the Latin dancing lately, so I'd love to share. So what T-zer is trying to say is that there's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of things we are excited to share with you guys. And as you can hear, this is our first time doing podcast together. We live on different continents with different time zones. We dance very similar styles, but also very, very different styles. Much as T-zer, I've had my own dance crew also that I lived together with. I DJ'd. Shout out to Left Sun Crew. I've DJ'd. I've traveled the world with Bachata Sensual. That's a story by itself. I've trained dancers, like I've trained artists like Madonna. I lived at Madonna's home in New York. We have an endless amount of stories, and we're learning how to do this podcast together with each other as we go. We had this conversation 2 weeks ago where we said, like, well, we should just do this. We should just start. Like, let's start and let's figure things out. This is the first time T-zer is shooting in her new location. It's the first time I'm shooting here. Next week, I'll probably be somewhere else. But the whole point is that we are excited to share this journey together with you guys and share our love and passion for movement and dancing and just art and improvement. So it's going to be an amazing journey. So excited to have you guys here.
Yes, definitely. And one thing that we also going to get into is what can be improved, because I think that a lot of people look at dancers and they are like, oh, you guys are living the dream life and looks like you're just traveling and you're just having everything in an epic flow. And we have also a lot of things to share when it comes to things that didn't go so well, and
most definitely
and periods of our life that wasn't that easy. And it touches on everything from entrepreneurship to spirituality. So just bear with us as we are moving through these type of concepts together with you. And if you as a listener have videos you would like us to see or things you want us to talk about, you could like DM us either on Dance Specific Talks on Instagram or at T-zer Fuse or at
Dance Specific Training, at Coach Sebastian, everywhere. You'll find us. If you want to find us, you'll find us.
Exactly. And if you also want us to interview some specific guests, we take every style. So
every style. We do not discriminate.
No, I mean we have contacts in the couple dancing scene, in the hip hop scene, in everything in between. So if you have anything that you're like, oh, I would love to see them do this, shout out, find us, comment, and challenge us. We can take it.
Yeah. As T-zer are saying, we come from very diverse backgrounds, and the more we spend time with each other and with you listeners, the more we're going to understand, okay, but where is this podcast going to take us? What type of content, what type of community are we creating? What type of conversations do we want to have? When we founded Be Fit and Sensual, which is the world's first training festival for Latin dancers. So we designed this whole thing. It's okay, but we want to train dancers to get mentally and physically stronger. How do we do that? And when you open up that box, you start to understand, wow, there is a whole world of people that are focused on training dancers and doctors that are literally doctor dancers. And it's an incredible journey, and a lot of people that we want to talk it to. And I think also our lifestyle, when we've been traveling so much, both of us, and we have been moving so much. I mean, you lived in Thailand, Sweden, Amsterdam. I lived in Australia, Norway, Sweden, Cape Verde, Malta. This one thing that we hold on to, this thing called dancing. Even sometimes it goes up, we dance more. Sometimes it goes down, we dance less. This one thing we keep holding on to is dancing, right? Like that's the one common denominator, or movement even, perhaps.
Exactly. And that it leads me into, I am so excited to share with you. So next week, I am going to do a gig in Gothenburg in Sweden. So I'm flying
Yes.
home.
Tell me about it.
And it's my crewmate from Fuse, from Anos. She's organizing a storytelling event. And the theme is about home. And the
I love
theme
it.
home is exactly kind of what you described. For us as dancers, I had to ask myself, what is home? You know, for me personally,
Yeah.
but like also as I'm going to be the only one representing dance at the storytelling event and do a storytelling piece with dance about home, I had to like dig a little bit. And
Yeah.
before I tell you what I came up with, I want to ask you, you have lived in so many places. What is home for you?
Yeah, I lived in so my definition of living somewhere is when I stay at one place for longer than 6 months. So I am obviously born and raised in Sweden. After that, I lived in Australia. Then I lived in Norway. From Norway I moved to Spain, where I stayed for. I lived 7 years in Norway. I lived 2 years in Spain. I lived about a year cumulative in Malta, and now I lived 2 years and a half in Cape Verde. But during this time, I've also traveled. So I'm gonna say at least 150 international travels, probably more, honestly. And when you're living this lifestyle where you're constantly moving, constantly navigating around, you have to change your definition of home. Because if you feel that home is a location somewhere, or at least this is how I do it, or how I reconcile with it, home for me isn't a location. Because if that's the case, then I would be completely lost. So I've been just this last 3 months, this last 4 months, I lived in that case in six different. I've been sleeping rather in eight different cities. So home has to be somewhere else. Home can't be for me in Sweden, even though I call Sweden. When I say I want to go home, I refer to Sweden. But when I'm in Sweden, I say I want to go home, I refer to Cape Verde. So a couple of years ago, I heard this quote from Bob Marley actually, and he says that my home is in my head, and that has been how I navigate. So I feel that if I'm good with myself in my head, that's when I'm home. Wherever I am, I'm home. And it's also my father has always pushed this mindset on me of being a citizen of the world. The more you become a citizen of the world, you make sure that you always feel home.
And how do you then tune into home?
I think it comes down for me to movement, honestly. Even if it's dancing, if it's training, I train a lot, obviously. But as long as I'm able to move, and as long as I'm able to just set up shop, I'm good. And I have a very strict routine that I follow. I stretch every morning. I do breathing exercises every morning. I train uh, like out of my morning movement and my mobility and stretching. I obviously go to the gym a lot. And if I don't go to the gym, I run. I do home exercise, body weight exercises. I develop my own training method for dancers. So yeah, as long as I stick to that routine, I feel home. And it's also important to say this is that I live like this because I've been to my personal bottom. I've been dealing with suicidal thoughts, panic anxiety for years. I did a TEDx talk around this topic about men's mental health. There's an endless amount of stories there. But if I don't do this, I know I don't feel in balance. And as soon as I start to feeling unbalanced, it's like, okay, but what is this? What am I feeling? What is happening? And because I've been there, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been dealing with suicidal thoughts, but I'm also the happiest I ever been right now. And because I'm so aware of those two extremes, and I know how bad I can feel, I also know how good I can feel, right? So as soon as I start to feel a little bit off, it's like, oh, I got to calibrate a little bit. I got to do more of this. So I think it's those things. It's just the lifestyle, the routine that I do.
It's so funny because I obviously been seeing you like quite recently, and one of the things I noticed about you when you needed to like calibrate back, I mean, it's intense living with people. You were like in people's guest rooms all the time, and
Different sofas all over the world.
different sofas. And one of the things I saw that you did when you're doing like your morning stretch routine, it's reminds me also about a quote that I heard from Londrell, one of my favorite artists. Shout out. And he
Shout out to
said,
Londrell.
peace is just one breath away.
Yeah.
And when I see you kind of disappearing into yourself, it's always connected with you breathing very deeply. And I just think that it's also interesting how even as dancers, we learn all these moves, but we rarely talk about the breath. Isn't that
Crazy,
interesting?
right? Crazy. I think that is so crazy. I love that you're saying this. One of my most popular videos on YouTube is actually how to breathe as a dancer. And that is how you're breathing in the weight room, how you're breathing on the dance floor, how you are using your breath to improve your existence, right? Because that's what it is. And so, like you're saying, like Landrell is saying, perhaps it's just one breath away, and you can tune into wherever you need to be. Like using your breath is a superpower. It's a superpower.
Yeah.
But so I think that's what it comes down to for me, at least, and it also comes down to just being in a good state and being around good people, and you can put yourself in that state through breathing, right? And again, this is why I do breathing exercises every day. What about you? Where does home become once, because you said like, I'm gonna go home, and you refer to Sweden, but now you have a child, so and you created your own family. That is also home, right?
Yeah. So when I've been in the process of thinking about this, because basically I'm gonna do like a 10-minute dance storytelling piece, and I was like, what am I gonna fill it with? And I started thinking back of what home has been, and my parents divorced when I was 7, and it was a very strict 50-50, 1 week at each parent type of situation. And therefore, I very early on also did not have just one home. You can have multiple homes. But the symbol that has kept going with me through life is the bag. The damn bag. Multiple plural bags.
Those damn bags.
Like, I don't know. I wonder if we would combine how many bags we have accumulated in our lifetime.
It was a girl here in Cape Verde. She's like, "You're Sebastian, right?" I'm like, yeah. She's like, "I've seen you. You always have a bag. You always have a backpack."
And I was like, I thought that you grow out of it. And now I'm also 33. I still am with my damn backpack, man. Like I am rocking this backpack still to this day. And I remember
it's a lifestyle.
Feeling that where you put down that bag is home. You know, every week I had to pack, unpack, and you just bring whatever is necessary for you to be at home at a certain location in that bag. So I'm going to dedicate 10 minutes solo to the bag.
The bag. Shout out to the bag.
Shout out to the bag.
And it's also what we're hunting. No, we're hunting the bag. We want to get to the bag, and we're always bringing with us the bag. That's what it comes down to.
And so I have it like, it's like 4 chapters. And the first one is showcasing me as a child with a bag, because that was also obviously connected to a lot of sadness. You're kind of being ripped off from your current routine. You have to pack your bag, then go to another house, and then land in that routine. And then boom, 1 week later, rip it out again. And so of course, there's a lot of baggage in that bag that comes from childhood and having to always see a parent sad because you're leaving and see that other parent happy because you arrive. And so there's a lot of emotions that comes with it. And then on top of it, I have the next chapter, which is me becoming a dancer. and I became a dancer very early. And so I needed to start packing my own training bag. And these training bags have been there. I can't tell you because you have know exactly how it is. There's so many sweaty clothes that goes in and out of the bag. There's extra shoes. There is Tupperwares with food. There is
Always.
meals and snack and towels and deo and little brush and maybe toothbrush.
And then this is my hip hop pants, and then these are my popping pants. So like at least when I began dancing, that was really like this is my outfit for doing this style, and this is my outfit for doing that style.
Yeah, we did back-to-back classes, which means you spent an excessive amount of time with this bag at dance schools, right? So the bag was the only thing that was your little home in the dance school, right? And then you come to a certain age where you get that passport freedom and you start putting your bag as in, I'm going to explore the world. And so now your backpack and bag becomes everything you need in order to travel the world, and you bring things from the world within that bag, and you're so scared of losing that bag on the airport, and it just becomes this whole situation of moving you and the bag throughout the world.
I love that quote, just like bag is where the home is where you put down your bag, right?
Yeah.
Because exactly what you're saying, when you are traveling, when you're sleeping at the airports, which I've done like an endless amount of times, it's like, okay, here is home. Between these two shares, here is where I have my stuff. And then I can walk around, but here is where I'm going to sleep here. Why? Because my bag is here. This is home. And even with dance schools, right? Like dance schools was also my home. Shout out to Twisted Feet. Like I spent an endless amount on Twisted Feet Dance Academy in Gothenburg, Sweden. Like that was my home. You couldn't tell me anything else. I stayed in school, and as soon as I always just slept at home, school, and then as soon as like the bus card started kicking in, so you could travel for free, then I jumped on. I took the first bus, went to Twisted, and spent 5 to 8 hours every day there just dancing.
Yeah, and the same. When I moved to Gothenburg, Twisted was the first place I taught. And then because I started going out, that shower room, I can tell you, me and my crew, we have been using that shower more than the shower at home. Because after training, we would have to then go into the shower and then redo a whole outfit and then go out to salsa, bachata, kizomba. And that was every day. Like every day
there was no shower on Twisted Feet when I was there. I'm that old school. There was no shower on Twisted Feet when I was there. They put that shit in after. There was no shower when I was there.
I'm telling you, like I think me and Anos had, we built our friendship in that shower at Twisted Feet because we had to be in that locker room for, so much time. And then I'm going to end my piece with realizing that it's now time for me to pack my daughter's bag. And I have now a new little bag that I have to pack with her things and her change of clothes.
We need to do a reaction to your piece. We need to do a reaction video to your piece. They're gonna record it, I'm assuming? Somebody's got to record it. Come on, this is 2024.
Yes, I have to record
it. And then we have to
and
run over it, and you have to talk. Are you gonna talk also, or are you only gonna dance for 10 minutes?
I'm only gonna dance. I'm only gonna dance for 10 minutes. But also, there's gonna be pieces where I kind of more do theater-ish.
But it's no talking.
No talking.
So we're gonna watch that piece together, and then you're gonna explain with voice what we're doing or what you're doing. That's the first video we're reacting to. Bam! I cement that right now. Cement that right now.
Okay, well, it's the first time I do a solo piece that long.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Yeah,
How are you feeling?
Yeah. I feel a little bit nervous, but at the same time, when you're doing something solo, nobody knows if you're fucking up, right? So you can just improvise and freestyle. So
but you also expose yourself, right? Like you're gonna go through. It's not like dropping a solo, right? Like I've done a lot of solo shows. The majority of my shows has been solo, but it's just like you're at a festival and you are improvising, right? Like that's what I like to do. So it's not the same. You're not showing a piece necessarily, right? Now you have a 10-minute piece that is dedicated to this one theme, which is your life, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the cards in Move That Soul says, if you had to create a performance about your life, what would the key pointers be that you would dance on stage? And I
The
just feel
bag,
like
baby.
actually that this is this card for me. Like I
Yeah,
was explaining to you my childhood, my start of my dance career, but also like yeah, my entire dance career in this damn bag, but I'm also explaining the traveling and where dance took me, but also how the bag enabled me to, bring home my prizes from
yeah,
competitions, to, bring my microphone when I started doing podcasts, just like how you brought your camera and that became your
yeah,
livelihood.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. Everything.
bag, we don't give
The
the
bag, I
bag
love
enough
it.
credit.
I might give the bag a tattoo after this. This is awesome. I love what you're hearing or
You
what I'm
know
hearing.
what? We should do a backpack tattoo.
I might just don't push it. Don't push it.
Should we
You
have
you
a
don't
friend
you don't
tattoo?
you don't you don't see my tattoo. I'd love to do a front tattoo. There's nothing else I'd like to do more. I'd love
Oh
to
my
do a front
God.
tattoo. What are you talking about? I'd love
I
to
love that. I love that. I also love that Maddie just gave you this little coach tag so you can have
to
more
put on my
text
backpack.
on your bag.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
the
Now there is
fascination
something.
we have, right? Like, oh, what kind of padding do you have in your backpack? Oh, you have pockets there. I have a passport pocket right there.
Um, but it's like you're saying, it is such a huge thing of who you are and what you bring with you, right? And it's almost like it symbolizes where you're planning on to go. I have this thing with me. Why? Because I'm planning on becoming a professional dancer, and as a professional dancer, I need this, and this. I am planning on becoming an incredible mom. And as a result of that, I need to bring this and this and this and this and this to my daughter. I am planning to have a podcast. And as a result of that, I need to fly across the Atlantic from Europe to Africa. And I'm bringing 6 flashes and 8 different tripods and an endless amount of electronics because I am planning on going to this very location, right? So without sounding like a hippie, it symbolizes something deeper than just like your home. It's also like a destination of where you're planning on going, right? So it's something deeper than just that. And I think that's the fascination of it. It's like, okay, but what did you choose? Right? Okay, with your limited budget, because as especially as dancers, you don't grow up balling in money. It's not the case. You don't you get there, you can get there, but that's not where I started, and I know that's not where you started. So what you bring in your bag, it's like, okay, but this is it. This is it. This is home right now, like you're saying. So it's a representation of where you are, but it's also a representation of where you want to go. Oh, look at that.
Exactly. I think that symbolizes what we feel about the bag. I'm just going to
Thumbs
do
up for the
this.
bag.
So that's the first theme, I guess, of this podcast is home and the bag and the dancers' relationships to the bag. And so yeah, I am excited to hear. Maybe some of the listeners can text us. What is your relationship with the bag? And how
With the
has the
bag.
bag played a role in your life as a dancer?
Yeah, I'd love to understand that. Love to hear it.
Mhm.
Love to understand it. Love to hear it. Where are
Is
we
it
now?
also,
What time? What did I say? Sorry, what did I say?
I was also gonna say, it's interesting also how, as dancers, I don't know any dancers who have designed a bag.
You have designed a bag. Oh, I like your style. Why is there not a dancing bag? Why does that not exist? Did we just come up with a business idea? Is that how we
I
become
think
millionaires?
so. Like, because if you think about it, I mean, we would have, if I had a dream bag, it would have 2 water bottle situations, one for coffee, one for water. But I
Talk
would
about the
also
coffee.
have 2 shoe sections, one for high heels, one for my other sneakers or whatever. And I would
Mm,
have a wet, sweaty type of pocket.
compartment.
Exactly. So that like that odor stays in there. And
Yeah.
then on the
Easy to
inside,
wash.
exactly, like you just wipe that shit because it's like
Yeah.
waterproof or something. And then I would have pockets for like deo, perfume, little, makeup refreshment bag, but like nothing of that fits in a regular bag. So you just end up using like the computer zipper for like all your small shit, and then everything is just mixed.
Yeah. I also like, even before it wasn't as, I remember there was a moment, at least in like my circle of friends, like where you didn't teach with your phone. It was unprofessional to come to a dance school with just your phone. That you can do that now. You didn't do that just a couple of years ago. You brought your computer also, and my computer weighed a ton. So my backpack, like, it was heavy. Or like, you came from school, you brought your backpack, like you have your school stuff, you have books. Like, I love it. I love it. If anybody has some contacts or connects with bag creation, please let us know.
Shout out. We should do a bag.
Yeah. I like it. I like where it's coming from.
That would be so dope. And then a pocket for Move That Soul, so you can also bring your little card game whenever you want.
Speaking of Move That Soul, I think is it time to pull the first card?
I think so. Do you want
run
me...
over before we? I want you to explain to the world, how do we use Move That Soul? How do we move that soul?
How do we move that soul? So first of all, you have a little introduction here when you open this, and it says, for dancers who dare to dig deeper. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
And when you open the box, there's a QR code on the inside, which leads you to a link tree with videos, game suggestion rules, because you can play the game, with 2 people or with a group. You can also play it with people you never met before, like if you have a class and you want your students to like get to know each other. So this bag can be danced in a lot of ways. Then when you open it, you have 2 sections of cards. One is called Ask, the other one is called Move. And basically, the Ask is a selection of the best questions I have heard in podcasts, in the best questions I've asked dancers from all over the world in this podcast. I've collected 70 of those. And then on the other side, you have Move cards. Now, a Move card is just an indication of a move or a solo. So for example, I pull a card here randomly. It says, move from your heart space. Now, doesn't matter what style you do, if you're doing couple dancing, contemporary, hip hop, whatever. Now, if I pull this card, move from your heart space, and I play the game with you, I have to do the solo, you pick the song.
Nice. Yes. Exactly.
Which means if I pull this card, but you pick the song, I not only have to do a solo, which I have to interpret from the card, but I also have to adapt my solo to the mode of the music you choose. And if we would be in a group, you could also play it like, I pull this card, it says, pick one move, create variations. And then I can assign the cards to like 2 or more dancers that have to do improvised solo together, and I pick the song. So you can also do it in a group setting like that. And then you can go one round with questions, 1 round with moves. You can also have people guess what card you took. For example, I pick a card, you pick a song, I do the solo, and you then have to guess what was on my card, for example.
You can also play this alone. I can ask myself a question, journal that question, or just answer it in my brain perhaps, and then take a move card and just press shuffle on a playlist and challenge myself to move from that heart space or whatever the move card says, right?
Exactly. Like this could also be... It's like also if you want to do a choreography and you don't know what to do, you could pick one move card or one question card, and it can give you inspiration to create a piece, to do a performance. Or if you want to challenge again your students, you want to have them like increase their creativity during class, you can put them in different corners of the room with different cards. Like endless possibilities. And this is the first edition, the original edition, and I'm planning on doing more editions.
That is
later
amazing.
on.
That's amazing. How long did it take you to before we draw a card and actually play this game? I also want to say, like, the box that you've done here, it's very professional. It's a magnet right here, so it sticks to it. It doesn't fall if I hold it upside down and shake it even. It's very it shines. It's a bright shine.
Shines.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. There's an endless amount of ways to play it. There are instructions, but you can use it in order for you to improve yourself, improve a relationship with somebody. Because even if you're in a crew, that doesn't mean that have you ever asked, like, as we play this game, you're gonna ask a lot of questions, or we're gonna pull some cards. But like, I never asked someone in my crew, for example, that's like, in what way am I a good example, and ask somebody to talk to me about me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
I wish that I've had this. I wish I had this when I was a younger dancer. I think that would have got me some deeper connections to dance earlier on. And also because I think in the beginning of your dance career, whatever style you choose, you're so focused on doing it right technically that you a lot of the times don't think about expanding. And because I did so many styles, I was mixing at some point. I was teaching whacking, dance hall, hip hop, and I was into couple dancing, and I could do a little bit of voguing and crump and locking and all of that. So I would have loved to have a game like this, which is not style bound and required me to use whatever tools I had in my toolbox rather than just do technically whacking, and I think that would have helped me to be a little bit nicer to myself, actually.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying right now, it's also a very important, topic, not topic, but like way of it's a very, how do you even say that? It's a very interesting way of approaching business, because you created a product that you wanted. That specific training, which I created, is something I needed, because I've done 2 knee surgeries and I couldn't find any answers. I couldn't find any training that was for dancers. The only training I could find was for ballet dancers, and I couldn't relate to that.
Yeah.
And so I developed something that I needed. You developed something that you needed.
Yeah, same with this podcast. I mean, during COVID, I felt like we were all so depressed as dancers because all of our opportunities were taken away. And to then get that intimate moment that I knew I could never have had. I'd interviewed like Negin in Brazil about his upbringing. I got, your contact, La Alemana, like the biggest bachata star. I mean, if she didn't have a stop in her 12 years of touring, I could have never had an hour conversation with her about her, mental health and how touring has affected her. Like those, I think that the sit down and having conversations when we only see dancers dance, we never hear them talk, so that's why I also did the podcast. And I think it is when we realize that something is missing that we get creative.
Exactly. It's time to ask.
Okay, you want to start?
I want to start. Let me pull out a random card here from my 70 different ask cards that I have. And my card, boom, says, so I'm going to read out loud. That's what we're doing. I'm him now. I'm with my dyslexia. I'm going to read out loud. Guys, if I crash and burn on... This is a very fragile moment for me. So be supportive.
We're here holding space.
If you laugh right now, it's a hate crime. That is not okay.
Think about your karma.
Yeah, exactly. When did you last break free from your comfort zone? What did you discover about yourself?
Well, the last time was like this morning, because I have to start putting together this 10-minute solo piece about my life in this bag. And yeah, it's just super vulnerable to tell a personal story. And then I also think about how I can translate that so it doesn't become too personal, but also relatable. And yeah, that really is challenging in so many ways, because it needs to be like the perfect blend of storytelling versus dancing, and enough break and pauses for people to feel. And as a dancer, it's very easy to hide behind moves. It's when we slow
Very easy.
down.
Very
It's
easy.
when
That's
we
very well
slow
said.
down that the true, genuine parts of our dancing can be shown. And that's where you see the difference if you are telling something that feels genuine and true versus this is something I learned.
So what did you discover about yourself during that progress?
Um, yeah, I have to portray how it felt like, for example, to be a kid moving from different places. And
Yeah.
again, showcasing that it's a mix of emotions. It's the, oh no, I have to pack this bag again, to the sadness of leaving a parent, to standing in front of a door, knocking, and like switching up and being happy because you don't want the other parent to feel that you're sad leaving the first one. Like, so
Yeah.
how do I portray that? I think I learned about myself that I have a lot of stories within my body that haven't been told.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I love
That's the
it.
answer. Okay, are you
That's a great
ready?
answer. That's a great answer. True. Ask that question. Move that. I'm ready to move that soul.
Okay. Can you identify a specific moment, show, or battle that gave you a new appreciation for dance? And what insights did you gain from it?
As an endless amount of battles, endless amount of shows, endless amount of stages. But the first thing that pops to mind, and I'm not sure why this pops to mind. It pops to mind because I had so much fun. So I was never a background dancer. I've been doing some background dancing for different artists, but that wasn't like my how I traveled the most. I traveled the most by doing solo performances and teaching. But I am dancing together with an artist called Adelén, who won Norwegian Melodifestivalen, Melody Grand Prix. What is that called? Melody Grand Prix, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. That's what it's called. I'm not
I
sure. I'm not
don't
sure what it's
remember. I
called.
don't know the English
I'm
version
not
of
sure.
it.
I'm not sure. Eurovision
Eurovision
Song
Song
Contest.
Contest.
Eurovision Song Contest. Yeah, she won the Norwegian version of Eurovision Song Contest, and she wrote the official World Cup song. So I'm together with her and a good friend of mine called Don Benjamin, Benji, good friend. We are in northest of in Norway, and we are in Kautokeino. Most people don't know that Scandinavia had we have our own natives. We have our own natives in who's called Samer, who went through
Yeah.
very similar journey as the Aboriginals in Australia or the indigenous groups from America, and we are in their capital. They are it's so different. I'm eating reindeer for the first time, and I was vegetarian during that time. I'll never forget. I'm vegetarian during this time. I'm pescatarian, sorry, during this time. And I said, like, hey, do you have any fish? Like, I don't really eat meat. She's like, have you ever tried reindeer? I'm like, no, but like I said, like I'm not really a meat guy. She's like, listen, this reindeer that you're eating right now, or that I can't serve you, we killed it yesterday. It is the happiest reindeer you will like. He lived completely free. If you're ever gonna try a reindeer in your entire life, I suggest it's now. I'm like, you know what? You sold me. I am done. And so I tried reindeer for the first time there, and we're having this incredible experience. And it's a she's Adeline is a world artist. Like we're talking like Eurovision Song Contest, like I said, World Cup. She's been performing hundreds and thousands of people live. But I end up here with her, and it's a tiny little bar. It's a tiny little bar where maybe 200 people maximum. But when we get on stage, the whole crowd loses it. The whole crowd loses it. And it's so much smoke when we're coming up on stage So I don't see anything. I can't see the crowd. I don't know what's happening. I can just hear people, and they are standing right here. They are standing a foot away from me. Like if I remember, like there is a moment where we do a kick, and while I'm doing that kick, I have to half do it. I can't do it full out, because if I do this kick full out, I'm gonna kick somebody in the face. That's how close we stand to them. And that moment, and I remember like being so happy, and I love Madeleine and I love Benji. And there's a moment I'm looking over and I'm seeing Benji catching eye contact. I'm like, this is happening. So, and this is the same year that I have also performed for 100,000 people live. We did Norway's biggest outside concert or outside festival, and I did a solo during that show. But this one stands out more. This one show is very intimate, very personal. Not first time, but like one of the few times when I'm doing choreography on stage. So for me, that was huge. That moment is one of those moments that I'll never forget that moment. And before that again, Samer has their own way of singing, a traditional way of singing, which I am not gonna try to attempt. But because this is so this the city we're in is so small, and it's a winter wonderland. Like whatever you think about, like northern Scandinavia, northern lights, December, freezing cold, reindeers everywhere. Like it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And we're sitting in a jacuzzi, and there are a few people there. So we start to talk with them naturally. It's only us. It's very intimate. And they say, "Oh yeah, and they are Samer." So they start to explain about their culture, and I know so little. I have so many questions, and then from nowhere, there is a choir of the female choir of Samer comes walking down in from the hotel and goes out, and they stand around our jacuzzi, because one of the guys that were sitting there, we are in town, Adelaine is in town, so everybody's going to that show. So he knew straight away. Is it the first time he's saying? He's like, "You're Adelaine, right?" So he calls his mom, who is the leader in the choir. So all of them stands around our jacuzzi and start to sing in this traditional way in Swedish, which we call jodlar. So they sing this, and then once they're done, they all throw snow at us while we're sitting in the jacuzzi. So that's one of those experiences I'll never forget.
No, but I want to let me have a moment of standing ovation. Ovation, guys. This is what we have this podcast for. What the fucking story is that? Imagine that because you're a dancer, you end up there. I fucking love that shit. You're such a good storyteller. I'm like so excited for everything that we're going to talk about in this podcast. Like I've been just jaw-dropping, just trying to imagining this, like, and it's only like you're just like a kid from Mölnlycke, like fucking nowhere, and you're ending up there in the situation because of dance, because of hip-hop culture.
I have endless amount of stories like this. I have endless amount of experiences. Like I am only here because I dance. Like I don't know. This is crazy. I'm in the music studio together with Michael Jackson's producer. How did I end up here? I dance.
Right.
Like how? Yeah.
Right. It's like when I've been to Jamaica and I'm standing fucking next to Beanie Man with a drink, and I'm just like. Oh yeah, it's because I'm dancing that I'm here. I'm from a village. Like I'm from a white Swedish town of 10,000 people. How did I end
up? A white Swedish town of 15,000.
Exactly, and it's only because of dance. I saw Bounty Killer just casually walk by. I've been in Bob Marley's house because of dancing.
Warlord.
We have so much to talk about, and if you guys are excited to hear this, please share this podcast episode as this new reintroduction to Dance Specific Talks, because we haven't even had a guest on this podcast, and I'm already fired up. I'm sweating.
Yes,
I'm so excited.
Yes,
Oh my God.
Nice.
Time to
Familia,
close
it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you for moving that. Thank you for letting me move that soul teaser. That's a story that's. Is this like, again, the power of a game, right? The power of a good question is that you dare to or that you get forced to remember things that you completely forgot.
I mean, can you imagine if we ever sit here with like Momson or someone and we just pull a
Yeah,
card and he have to like
yeah.
answer it? We're
I'm
gonna,
excited.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
excited.
so excited. Hey, for the people out there, like, share, comment, subscribe. We have this YouTube channels, Dance Specific Talks. You can find us on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, wherever you find your podcast. And yeah, let us know if you want some specific topic, if you want to ask us any questions, if you want us to interview someone specifically. Like now this on, we're gonna hopefully be able to put out at least bi-weekly episodes, so tune in and hang with us while we are figuring this journey out.
Come and hang. And
Yeah.
if you are listening this far into this podcast, we ask you, specifically you, if you're hearing us saying this, please come with feedback. Please come with feedback. We are recording this because, of course, we like recording it. But if you're listening this long, it's because we're recording it for you. So please let us know what we can improve. Sound quality, video quality, topics, whatever the case may be.
Exactly. So yeah, just let us know, and please be our co-creator on this Dance Specific Talks.
Yes, I.
All right. Well, have an amazing time. Shout out to you. Take care of yourselves out there, and much love.
Love.
Don't forget to click subscribe, comment below, and give us a rating or review. We have a Facebook page, YouTube page, and we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and all the other podcast platforms. We also have an Instagram, so don't forget to tag us in your favorite episode and share it with the world, because we read all of it.